Well, parents, thank you for coming. My name is Chris Stoker. This is AP Physics. I've got a camera going because my little experiment is I thought I would video this session for parents who have conflicts and just can't make it, because I know how it is. Sometimes you can't. So I've got myself mic'd up, and we'll see how it goes. But I had my collar flipped partially up and back, apparently. I mean, what an embarrassing YouTube moment that is. So anyway, this is AP Physics. The AP Physics class has just changed officially from the College Board, the people that make the AP exams. It is now a 2-year class. Students do not have to take both years. We're not sure we can get enough kids in the second year to ever run it, but we're going to give it a shot. So this year we have 2 classes of AP Physics, and I tried to recruit from juniors heavily, and we'll see if I can get 1 class of seniors next year. But the change has been needed for a long time, because it used to be we'd cover a year of college physics in a high school year, which is really fast. And it used to be kind of like drinking from a fire hose. And the students actually did okay on the AP exam. About 70% would pass it. The problem, though, was I started seeing kids the next year who would say, you know, I don't really remember anything from physics because of what we had to do. And so I'm really excited actually about this split, because it gives us time to actually build better mental models, to work on concepts, to go more in depth on topics. And so I've actually been secretly piloting this change for the last 2 years, because I was kind of sick of how it was going. And so this is the official first year, but I've had a couple years practice with it.
Does that mean to get the AP credit they have to take the 2 years?
No, there is a separate test for each year. So they'll take a test if they choose at the end of this year in May, which will give them college credit if they get a 3, 4, or 5 on it out of a 5-point scale. If they took the second year, there'd be a separate test for that.
Basically, the high school year is like 1 semester of college.
Exactly. Now it matches up pretty well with the 2 semesters of college, which I think is just better. And even if they never get to the second year, at least they've got a good first semester done rather than a crazy one. So that is this. It's different than conceptual. Conceptual, we focus mainly on the concepts of physics without the math. In AP, we do the algebra-based college physics course, which gets into trig and systems of equations. And the truth of the matter is, it's usually not the math that catches the students, because the math is really not above an Algebra 2 level, and most of them are Algebra 2 or a couple notches higher. It's usually they're not used to the level of problem solving. And the problem solving just catches them, and I think it's kind of been the way we've taught math through the years, that the average kid doesn't become a good problem solver. The high-end ones probably do, but if you've had a student who is kind of good at the game of school and they're good at memorizing equations, they're kind of maybe like equation hunters. As long as someone kind of steps them through it a few times, they can go to town. If that's the way they are, this class will be a little bit difficult for them, at least at first, and maybe the whole time, because it'll force them to do things at a higher level of problem solving than they have before. And they'll say to me stuff like, well, I understand the concepts, I know how to do the math, I just can't put them together. And what they're really saying is their problem solving skills aren't, it's kind of blowing them out of the water a little bit. That's a very common thing that I hear. So this slower approach will really help those students with things as well. How about a demo? You're here to be entertained, aren't you? Not this year. Did I do that last year? Oh, right. That's true. So this is just the classic tablecloth tug. I may or may not assign this as homework over Thanksgiving. So I'll leave that to you to see what happens. But we have the students predicted, and we go to town. Gotta just get a little drum roll or something. Thank you. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now this is a common experiment. It's just cool to see it in person, even if you've seen it a lot. We'll have students come up and try it. But what we get to is, yes, it's inertia, but there's a whole lot more actually going on that has to do with friction. And if I pulled slowly, friction would have time to actually move everything off. And so it has as much to do with the time element as it does with inertia that we typically teach it as. So in AP, we go into into a lot more detail on that sort of thing. What we'll be doing is a lot of mini activities and mini labs that won't necessarily go in lab books or anything, that will help them kind of construct models in their head of what's going on, rather than me just stand up here and lecture, okay, this is what you do, this is the equation, this is how to think of it. My approach is to try to get them to make sense of the ideas before I ever tell them about the ideas. I can't always do that. Sometimes because of time restraints, I just have to, here's how to think of it, here's how you do it. But as much as I can, I try to make it kind of a constructivist approach to teaching. So you may have questions about like concurrent credit and AP. This class is also concurrent credit through NNU. So students, if they want, in the next month or so, can sign up for 4 credits of college-level physics through Northwest Nazarene University. It's 3 credits of the class and 1 credit of lab, which is their first semester algebra-based physics class. I take the first semester grade and the second semester grade, average them, and that becomes their first semester college grade. That's an option. They can also take the AP, or they can take the AP exam. They have to pass the high-stakes test, though, which is in May. There's some good about that because I kind of like preparing them for it, but then there is the bad of what if it's a bad day for them, and that represents their whole year of learning. And they don't have to do either. They can just take it as a challenging high school class. The NNU credit is $65, I think, a credit, so it's $250 or something like that for the 4 credits. The AP exam is around $100 to take that one. I have had some students that have done both, not very many, but sometimes they want the sure thing credit and they also want the resume item of taking the test. I kind of think that the resume item is maybe as important for these high-end students as the actual credits are. Because if they go to a higher-end college, university, a lot of them won't accept it as college or as physics credits anyway. They'll make them take their flavor of physics, but they'll give you general science. So it kind of just depends, you know, is your student going to major in science or engineering so they have to take the calculus-based anyway? Are they not? So this could count. I haven't talked to the students a lot about this, but I have kind of a pros and cons sheet that I'm going to give them soon. But just so you kind of know, that's my take on it. There's another option, actually, and that's what we've done the last 2 years, is I've taught the algebra-based class, but then the last month I've started reviewing it in calculus-based stuff. So we had 7 kids last year who took the calculus-based mechanics exam, and I had 2 the year before that did that. And so you can be successful on the calculus without actually having the class that's the calculus-based, which is the one science and engineers take in college. This particular class
4A, passing period heading to 1B.
Is the one like doctors and pre-dental and vets and stuff take in college. Any questions? Well, thanks for coming, parents.
Thank you.
Look forward to a good year with your students.
Yeah.
Pre-dental that they should take this one?
Pre-dental and pre-med and all those guys, they take this same class in college. This exact class. This will only be first semester of it, but they'll end up taking the same one. So it might make sense to get the NNU credit because then you get out of first semester. Or you might say, well, if they do bad, then that gives them a low grade on their permanent college transcript, and to get into med school, maybe that's a bad thing.
Okay. I guess I don't really care about that because for general, you just have to get any degree and then you have to go to apply to the school.
Right.
So I guess it just depends on, and how do I find out if the college he wants to go to accepts that?
The NNU credit?
Uh-huh.
You just have to call up that physics department at that college. Now for the AP exam, you can go to the AP website and it will tell you for every college what they require to get credit and how much credit they'll give you if you want to do the AP exam. And I have a link to that from my webpage.
I'm more into just concurrent credit because I'd hate to just have them take a class and then get nothing for it.
Right, if they didn't pass, yeah.
All right, thank Thank you.
Yeah, I don't care either way. I'm not swayed by one side or the other. So.
Okay.
What are we now? Conceptual? Yes.
Yes, 1B.
Okay. 1B. Awesome. I'm Chris Stoker.
Seal.
Seal? Nice to meet you.
Sheila Thompson.
Sheila?
Corey Rutz.
Corey? Nice to meet you. All right, I better turn off my video here.